New York Congressman Mike Lawler. Good morning to you, Congressman. I'm sure you have some strong words as well regarding those protesters, and I'd like to get your initial reaction to the latest stunt by this anti-ICE mob. Clearly, all of us here know that entering a place of worship in this manner crosses many lines, but do you think any of these protesters regret their actions or even in the moment realized they crossed a line? And secondly, what do you think should happen to them?
No, I don't think they regret their actions. They've been engaged in these type of antics all across the country. It is a highly coordinated effort, backed and funded by radical left-wing groups. And their intent is to disrupt and create havoc. The fact is they have been protesting ICE, all throughout last year. Disrupting their abilities, trying to interfere with law enforcement. And they continue to act in a destructive manner. The fact that you would storm into a church and that a quote-unquote journalist would join them in this effort is shameful. Mm-hmm. It's a violation of the First Amendment, the right to practice your faith without interference, and here you have people going into a sanctuary, going into a church, and not only interrupting the service, but really in trying to intimidate people of faith, and it's wrong.
Yeah, and we've heard from Attorney General Pam Bondi, also Harmeet Dillon at the DOJ's Office of Civil Rights, and they have vowed to look into this to pursue federal charges for every one of those protesters who stormed this church there. Congressman, though, I want to get your thoughts on this viral video. It shows an ICE agent in Minneapolis speaking to the press while directing a message to protesters interfering with their operation. Listen.
So you're reporting, we're here to arrest a child sex offender. And you guys are out here honking.
Oh, we're not. No, we're pressed. No, we're not.
That vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting. Insane.
Yeah, you can hear the exasperation there in that agent's voice. You also have Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. She's saying that more than 10,000 criminal illegal aliens have been arrested in Minneapolis so far. Murderers, rapists, pedophiles, dangerous individuals that these protesters can't help but protect. Reaction from you, Congressman. Do you think the protests against the ICE efforts there are overshadowing all of these actions by ICE agents to get these criminals off the streets here? Is the protest now the dominating story?
Look, what happened in Minnesota almost 2 weeks ago was tragic. We don't want to see anyone lose their life.
Right.
But folks have to understand that when you interfere with law enforcement, when you try to barricade or block law enforcement from doing their job, it puts the public and it puts law enforcement in jeopardy. And the fact is that ICE is doing a job that is required under federal law to enforce our immigration laws and to get criminals off the streets. And unfortunately, in states like Minnesota and states like New York and California, they get no cooperation from the feckless politicians that are leading these states and who prevent local law enforcement from cooperating. They're the ones that are standing in the way. They're the ones that are making these states and cities sanctuaries for criminal illegal aliens.
Yeah.
And so if the local law enforcement is prevented from arresting these criminals, then you have to expect that ICE is going to come in. So if people don't want ICE in, then they should end their sanctuary policies and local law enforcement should fully cooperate with federal immigration officials. But that's not what is happening. And so ICE has to come in and remove the worst of the worst. And that's precisely what they're doing when they're taking child sex offenders, people who sodomize children, who have raped women, who have murdered individuals. What is it that Tim Walz and Jacob Frey would prefer? Do they want these folks left on their streets to act with impunity? It's disgraceful.
It
it's
really
disgusting,
is.
frankly.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.